row on your lathe on there. So I'm ready if you want. So what I did is I'm going to do like, because that's an 1.5 inch piece for that PVC, I'm going to do an 1.5 inch bowl. So I'm going to lay it out. But one of the hardest things with this is to get your bowl in a perfect sphere. And that's probably the hardest part. I've not gotten one there yet. Close, but it's really tough. They make a part that you can put some kind of attachment and make like spear-shaped items on there. And if you got into doing a lot of scoops, you might want to look at something like that. But get as close as you can. Now what will happen is you'll see it off. You'll have a thicker wall and a thinner wall, depending on which direction was off. If you're thinner in the center or wider or thinner and wider, back and forth on your spear, it'll show up when you cut into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out. I've got what is quick gauges here, but I've set an 1.5 inch. I finally used this. This was a giveaway here at the meeting 4 or 5 years ago, and I finally started using it. And it's actually pretty handy once you start doing caliper work. I set it for 1.5 inch, and what I do is I come in here and I come off the end here, 3/8 to 1/2 inch, and mark your outside, and then mark for your bowl. And then what I'm going to do is mark that outer edge. And mark that. I'm going to start out with a parting tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with this bowl part first. I'm going to get material out of the way so I can work and get in there in shape. So I'm going to take this end down. Speed up on that. I'm just going to score that down. Get that down a little bit out of your way. Come to the other side. What you want to do is kind of have an idea of how big around you want your handle to be. Get it somewhere close. Don't get it so thin there in the beginning, because then you might break it. I broke the ends off of one of them. Like one is passed on, I folded. They actually made it too thin, and I was able to salvage it. But you have to put a little bit of work in it to do that. So, just going to take some of this material down that's on the handle side. Down out of the way. Work on that sphere. Kind of decide what you want for handle length out here. And I'm going to keep it kind of short on this one because the throw on here is shorter than one I have at home. I just marked me a mark there. And I'm going to go ahead and set a spot there so I got a reference point. For this, you can measure over, or if you're pretty good at marking center, just mark the line in the center so you got a place for your pivot for your bowl. And you just start working down real slow. And this is probably what will take you the longest out of the whole thing, is to get that shape on that sphere. It's a bowl gouge. I got a spindle gouge. I'll do some detail work with it. Actually, this may be considered a spindle gouge. Depends on who you talk to and who you buy it from. I think they sold it as a bowl gouge, but I got a bigger one that's got a bigger flute on it. So with that 1.5 inches, I've got to see where I'm at. I got to take some down out in the middle there. go.
We will have a video up on YouTube in a few weeks, Craig. Okay. I will send out an email to everybody when it gets posted out on YouTube. This will be the Next March President's Challenge. Will be a scoop.
Now, one thing we did in the past was there's a scoop that you can make where we drilled in from the end and turned it and used a bandsaw. So if this is not something that's your cup of tea, try to make the other one. But you know, this is a good thing to work with. Getting close. Okay. Another thing that I made up, if you don't have calipers, you can drill an 1.5 inch hole into a board and just kind of check, you know, as a gauge to see how you're doing. I don't know if you can see that on your camera there. Does that show up? So that gives you an idea that you can kind of fit that around and see how it's fitting. So I'm going to separate, before I do, I'm going to take the handle down pretty close to where I want it. This is a piece of firewood that's been sitting for quite a while. Got a little bit of funkiness going on there. That cherry walnut turns pretty nice for something like this. So when you finish this up, to cut that spear loose, leave a little bit of meat back in here to give it some support. I'm going to go ahead and take this end loose. And right before you get to the end there, go ahead and get your sanding stuff ready, and you get it down pretty good on this finish. Just leave a little bit back there for the tail end of your process. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with sanding and finishing, because you just want to learn the technique of going through the motions of making the scoop. Because you can spend as much time as you want sanding these down and trying to make it more perfect for your scoop area. So it's, when you cut into it, it's round. Spend quite a bit of time cleaning that up and trying to make it as round as possible. But that gauge helps make it one of those. Just clean that end up a little bit. Right, just eyeball best you can to make that clear. A little bit of egg shape on the other side. Try to bring it in just a little bit. Okay. Hey Brent, could you hand me the PVC piece? No, Before you take it off there and stir it, putting the sphere on this side allows you to go in and check your gauge and make sure it's gonna fit. If it's too snug, then you can adjust or whatever. But if you use that 1.5 inch gauge I showed you with drilling that out, you'll be close enough it ought to grip and hold on to that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and finish the handle out here and cut that loose. Everybody see okay? I'm just getting my parting cut here. So I got a little bit of work to do now since I busted loose, but what I do then is look for the side I want to show for my bottom with those rings. And what I'm doing is look around and see what I want best in there. But see, I've got a ring right here. I'm going to put that to the bottom and mount that in there. I put this around that side just to get a handle some support for the lockdown mechanism for the hose clamp. You want to raise that up toward the end. Now you can turn this outward, but it's a knuckle buster. I'm just, I haven't experimented with that, so I'm not even going to try here. It's going to do a straight scoop. They do make another scoop. I can't remember the guy's name. It's a funny last name, but he turns an offset handle, and then he pops it into a pressure fit. So the handle has a curve to it because you did the offset turning to start with, and then you go sideways. If you want to try that on your own, go ahead.
President's challenge better there.
Yeah, there you go. Just if I do that, do you up here have your dental work paid up for your dental insurance? Okay, I tighten it down pretty tight just to make it snug. All right, you're doing awesome tonight. Now on this part, you don't want to get really aggressive. Light cuts when you do this, or it will pop out of there and go flying. I'm going to turn this sideways here in a minute. We're gonna miss everything. I'm going to turn it down on low and see. part with the PVC, see how it's starting to flex out a little bit. So if you do PVC, just be aware you might try that 6 cuts instead of 8. Okay. Take this up there. What I'm doing is I'm going to mark where that hole is with my life center. Give me a spot to drill with. And if you got a base down here for your banjo that's wide like I got at home, you know, make sure you roll everything around quite a bit by hand before you start turning it on. And be aware where that handle is, because it will grab you and give you a pretty good knuckle bust on it. This is 1.5 inches, so what I did is I marked 1.25 inches to get down close to the bottom, so I've got a gauge to work with. Sometimes I don't always get this hole drilled. Kind of gets a little wobbly on you with this. You got that handle out there that's got an off balance to it. That didn't do too bad there. You said do light cuts to begin with. Anyway, come in there to the center. You want to watch the ghost shadow of that handle spin around and be aware where that's at when you get up there. But just take it real light cuts. If you knock it out of there, it's really hard to get back in center again. And not that it's a lot of work, but you just enough that you don't want to have to redo it.
What's the effect? It gets pulled to one side or the other, and you'll pull the center.
Yeah, it'll get, you'll see on your rim, it'll be off. It'll just
Well, and after he's drilled that hole in there, if you get it off center and put it on it, you might end up with a hole off to the side and cover your screw.
let's take this off so I got more room to work. Hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down so you can see where the PVC is showing through there. I'm going to take it down to pretty close to the edge of that PVC.
You have it going pretty slow.
I do till I get this
Okay.
worked out even, and I'll pick it back up. Once
I
I'm
was curious.
inside there, I'll pick it up and work a little faster. But what I found is if I just take it slow and just bump this off to get it down, it just worked out so much better. Now, if you can get it to hold, and probably if I had the wooden one where I've got more pressure, I could get by more speed, but this PVC wants to flex on me a little bit. PVC is a little more forgiving to allow you, if you don't get it 1.5 inches or get it too small, it will tighten up better than the wood because you've got a very small limit when you're using a wood. Okay, now I've got that down closer. I'm going to turn this up.
Mike, what kind of tool are you using there?
Henry Taylor, spindle gouge. Start working that down pretty quick then once you're inside there, because you got a lot more support once you get past the center point. Mind your way. So just work into it so you see that drill where you drill down to disappears. Now I'm pretty close to the handle because I can feel the air movement right there. Pretty close, so. Oh, not good for my watch to be doing that, huh? Okay. You get in there, this firewood I got, some pretty hard to get a good clean edge on, but if you use like good hardwood for the scoop, it'll work a lot better for you. I'll raise that up. I'm going to go with a scraper just to get that divot out of the center that's in there. So you want to go up higher than center when you lower down in there, and you just raise up. And all I'm doing is taking that little dip that's in there from my tool, that little divot that sticks out. Now this is pretty rough because, like I said, this firewood's pretty punky. And that, I don't even think I'm going to spend a lot of time trying to sand that up, but you get it in there and sand. Just watch your knuckles in there. Especially if you got it outward and you're trying to make it look like a ladle. But as far as the process, that's where you're at. Then you just pop it out and you're done. Now see how my spear's a little bit off? You can pass this around. I spent a lot of time. I didn't want to type all your time here, but you can go through the concept. But the main thing is get that spear good and tight, or you'll see what happens if you go off on one side or the other. But I'll pass this around and you can look at that. But, so the first time I did this was a few months ago, and it was a good challenge by Gary. And I didn't get it all smooth. You go deeper in here. But the main thing is to show you the tool, get locked.